Hey everybody, I want to make this video to show you this new tool called nm cleanup, and it's the tool that's meant to solve this very common problem when you have all these projects from the past, from maybe years ago, maybe months ago. Anyway, the projects that you don't actively work on, but still they accumulate, and these node modules folders in these projects begin to take up too much space on your machine, and eventually they begin to weigh more than a black hole. Using this tool, you can reduce their size to something less than a black hole, or maybe even closer to the sun if you're lucky. So first things first, I want to talk about why create it as a new tool instead of using something that already exists, some other package, which there are many packages trying to target this problem. None of them offer something that you can run in background, that you can run automatically, that looks at the date when your project was modified and work from there. These other tools, they either destroy all node modules that they find, which is not what we want, because we want to keep node modules in the projects that we're working on right now, right? We only want to delete the old ones, which we can't delete these projects entirely, right? Because they have sentimental value to us, and one day you'll see we're gonna come back to them and we're gonna make them a thing, but not today. But yeah, it's gonna happen, trust me. So we can't delete the entire project yet, but we don't want it sitting there with all these node modules taking gigs of space on our machine, right? Either the existing tools wipe all node modules that they find, or they give you a UI where you need to select the projects manually, and neither of those tools you can run automatically. Like with cron, once a day you can easily set up nm cleanup in a way so that it runs without your input whatsoever. So without further ado, let's go into our terminal and see how the tool works, right? Let's see it in action. So first thing that we need to do is make sure that node is installed on our machine, right? And then we go to npm and we install the tool globally, because we want to use it from anywhere. We want to use it from our root directory or from the directory where all of our projects live, right? npm install g, and we say nm cleanup. It's gonna add the package as well as a couple of dependencies. And then we can go and say nm cleanup, or we can just use nmc, which is an alias for the same thing. And so this is what it does when run directly without any arguments, without anything. You just run nmc, and here's what happens. Let's see. So first of all, we see all our options that we have provided or not provided. We didn't provide anything, but these are default values for each option that this package has, right? It's useful for debugging, and you can easily see what there is that you can configure. And the package is very, very configurable, so you can use it not only for node modules, but you can use it for other folders. Like if there are some other folders taking up space on your machine, you can configure this same tool to work with them instead of just node modules. Root folder to begin the scan. Then we have the target name. You can see it's a regular expression. You can customize it any way you want. By default, it's node modules, because like I said, this project is designed initially to work with node modules problem, but you can customize it to anything else you like. For example, if you want to delete dist folders, right, or something like that, you can do that too. You can specify ignore pass, exclude dirs, time threshold. This one is really important. Is the threshold below which the project is considered old. If the project is not older than this, we're not going to touch it, even if it has the targets, even if it has node modules folders or whatever we provide over here. We're not going to touch it if it's not old enough. If it's older than 30 days, we're going to wipe it clean. You can go in here and adjust this number to anything you like. So if for you it's not 30 days and you want to keep that stuff, you want to delete something that's only older than 90 days, we can do that. Okay, this next thing is project indicator files, and it's an array. By default, it's just one value, it's package.json, and there are more options like separating nested projects. And yeah, these are verbosity settings, both of these. Let's continue and see what happens next. So when we run the tool, it's finding all the projects that it can find in this folder that it's run from, or in the folder that you provided as a root. It's finding them by this package.json. All of these folders, they have package.json inside of them. Otherwise, it's not considered to be a project. So it prints all of the projects that it finds. It prints how many days ago it was modified. And you can see that these first two, and it also sorts, by the way, by modification time. So when you're running this tool regularly, you can just ignore these first lines. You can go directly to the end and see the oldest projects first. And then you can scroll up and see others. You can see the fresh ones if you need to. But generally, these are just printed for your information, right? They're not gonna get touched. It's marked fresh. It was modified 14 days ago, which is less than our threshold here. So it's not gonna get deleted. Even though it has this node modules, which is a target, it's not gonna get deleted just yet. And then we have more of these projects over here that were modified a long time ago. You can see here my scripts that I created for creating this test environment has set it to 1000 days ago. So we have more than 3 years without working on these projects, and surely these node modules over here, we don't need them on our machine. Let's be real, if we haven't come back to this project in 3 years, if for some reason I'm gonna come back to it ever, which I doubt, I'm just gonna install node modules again. You know, I don't wanna have 3 years of this stuff taking space on my computer. So you can see here, these ones which are fresh, they're a little more dim, you know, a little more subtle, not to draw too much attention to themselves, so that you can focus better on these ones which are old. And these ones you really need to look at. You see they're printed in red, because if you say yes over here, you can see we have a prompt which says clear targets in old projects. And if we say yes here, all of these guys are gonna get deleted. I'm sorry, not these guys, of course, it's not gonna touch anything but the folders that match this pattern over here. I'm gonna say no here, because if I say yes, these are gonna get deleted and all my test environment is gonna get like cleared up. And I want to show you a couple of more options that this project has. So I'm gonna answer no for now. And I'm gonna say NMC again. Let's say I want to see the verbose output, not only the targets. And by default, by the way, this verbose setting is set to targets like this. But when we don't specify anything here, it's gonna mean that it's verbose everything. Okay, you can see here that it outputs all of the excluded paths as well. So we have this exclude pattern over here, which says if the directory starts with a dot, so if it's a hidden directory by default, it's gonna get excluded, and the recursive scan is not gonna get into this directory at all. We're not gonna scan it because we know that in our hidden directories there are no node modules folders in there in our Git. And you can configure this based on your needs to something else, but by default it just excludes everything that is hidden. And now let's say I also want to clean up not only the node modules directories, but also dist directories. Let's say NMC, we're gonna keep it verbose for now, and let's provide a new name pattern. And here let's say node modules, but also dist. Let's see what happens. So instead of just having node modules over here, we also have dist in all of these old projects. And from here we can also ignore some of these. For example, we can ignore the entire project, or if we wanted to, we could ignore like dist folder in this particular project. So let's say I want to keep the dist folder in project D. I'm gonna say no again. NMC, keep it verbose, and we're gonna give it a name of node modules or dist, just like before, but as well we're gonna ignore this guy over here. So we have this project D over here, and we have ignored one. All other projects don't have anything ignored, they have something excluded. But this one has dist folder ignored, and it's only gonna clean up this node modules only for this project. In all other projects, it's gonna clean up both. Also, you can run help at any time, and it's gonna show you, just like this, all of the options that you have. For example, this one is very useful for creating automation scripts with cron or some other non-interactive environment. So you might have noticed that it gives us a prompt over here. Like it shows you everything that it found and everything that it thinks should be cleaned up, but it also doesn't do it right away, because in large projects this can be a lot, right? And you need to at least review something over here. And so it asks you, are you sure you're gonna do it? And you can say yes, and default is yes, but it requires at least one more keystroke from you when you're running it in manual mode. But if you're like super confident with what you're doing and you want to run it like automatically, for example, once a day, this is a perfect use case, and this is the use case for which it was designed initially. So yeah, if I give it a flag of Y, or I can spell it like this, yes, it's not gonna question me anything. It's just gonna print everything like before, but also right away it's gonna clear the targets. It's gonna show you what it actually deleted in the end, and it's gonna say, yeah, we're done here. The process is completed. And I think this is a perfect use case for this program. You can run it on schedule, like with cron or some other automation tool of your operating system of choice. And yeah, eventually it's gonna save you a ton of space that would be otherwise occupied by these node modules in the projects that you don't even use anymore. And yeah, that's a brief rundown of what this tool does and how you can use it and how you can configure it. But also it has a GitHub documentation over here. It has a repository with very, very detailed usage instructions and all of the options you can provide and how you can configure it even more. So yeah, feel free to check it out. And if you have any suggestions, or if you run into some problems while using this tool, feel free to go into GitHub. I'm gonna leave the link below. You can submit your issues. I would love to hear from you. I would love to read your guys' thoughts in the comments or in GitHub directly. So yeah, happy coding, everybody.